I'm just so fascinated. I can't wait to ask you this. You, you said you're doing some of these normal things, but you're doing some things that not that
Yes.
normal.
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
really fascinating to me. So you do spirit release therapy.
Yes.
What is it? What is it? What is spiritual release therapy?
Okay. And another word for it, which is a little bit more dramatic, is called either depossession. And the idea behind it is, or the belief behind it is that at some point, persons get what they call a spiritual attachment, which is a discarded entity that's attached or trapped within the aura of a live person. Sometimes it's family members that have passed on. Sometimes it's really no relation. It's just sometimes like attract likes. And what happens is there's instances where people sometimes they have personality changes or even physical symptoms. I mean, there's a whole range of things, and they can't account for it. And many times, when you trace it back, there is a spirit attachment within that person's aura. And sometimes it's very dramatic, depending on what it is, and sometimes it's very subtle. But it's a form of alternative therapy. Some therapists look at it as parts therapy. They don't look at it as a separate entity. They just think of it as another part of that person's mind. But that's just a nice way of, the way I see it, of calling spirit release therapy is calling it parts therapy. It's the same thing.
So how does this relate to, like, when you call your church and request an exorcism?
Well, that's the.
No,
I would say
I'm
that's
being weird.
Yeah. Right. This is the kind of thing, unfortunately, that some persons they think of the Hollywood version. They think of unfortunately, possession, exorcism, all that type of thing. And the way I handle it as a hypnotist is strictly, getting in touch, under hypnosis with that other personality or that other entity, that spirit, whatever you want to call it. And sometimes the person themselves that's being hypnotized will recognize that this is something separate from themselves. It may feel very familiar, but once under hypnosis, they realize that this is not truly a part of them. And basically starting a dialogue with that entity to explain that that they're hurting who they're with, that host, and that they have to leave, and basically during the session, we end up crossing over that entity into what we call the light. In other words, it cannot stay with that person. I mean, it's a process. I'm making it a very short. It sounds like a very short process, but it's a little bit more in depth actually what happens. But it's not the Hollywood version. Nothing comes flying out of anybody's mouth. No furniture goes flying. Nothing like that.
There's no green stuff coming out.
No green stuff. No. I mean, I've had people look at me with different, very unusual looks on their faces, but that's as bad as it gets.
What can you describe, from your personal experience, in your